My boyfriend demanded a paternity test for our newborn. When tests proved he was the father, he wanted to celebrate while I couldn't stop crying. My son was 5 days old when my boyfriend asked me if I cheated on him. He looked down at the baby in my arms and said it straight. If I was sure the kid was his. No warning. No context. Just that. Like we were talking about the weather. And the baby? He was a carbon copy. Same wide nose. Same deep crease above the brow. Same frown when he slept. Anyone could see it. My mom even joked about it the second she saw him, like, no denying that one. Except apparently there was. There was no history of cheating. No suspicions. No fights. He just watched me for 2 days after I gave birth, like he was waiting for something to confirm whatever story he'd already made up. I figured he was in shock, adjusting, tired. Then he showed me a clinic on his phone and said he'd booked a paternity test. It didn't feel real. I thought maybe he was venting, second-guessing in that way sleep-deprived new parents do. But he wasn't unraveling. He was serious. Settled. He looked at me like I'd tried to scam him. I didn't freak out. I didn't pack a bag or scream in the hallway. I just said okay. I didn't do it to keep the peace. I just didn't have the energy to drag something into the dirt that he'd already buried. I went with him. I held our newborn while a stranger swabbed his cheek. I signed the paperwork. I let them scan my ID. The technician barely made eye contact. My boyfriend didn't flinch once. And when we left the clinic, I was holding the car seat in one hand and pressing the other to my stomach because my stitches were pulling, and he looked over and said, "Don't take it personally. I just need to be sure." Like I'd accidentally left the stove on or mixed up someone's drink order. I didn't explain myself. I didn't try to convince him of anything. I didn't feel like educating someone on what betrayal looks like when you've just had their child. I didn't even tell my family. Just one friend, and even she was too soft about it. Said maybe he was scared. Maybe he just needed reassurance. But that wasn't it. He wasn't scared. He was detached. He held the baby like someone else's kid. Like he was doing someone a favor until the real dad showed up. And that hit me harder than the test ever did. When the results came back 6 days later, I was the one who opened the email. I printed it out. 99.999% match. I handed it to him like a bill he forgot to pay. He read it and smirked like he'd never doubted it, like he hadn't spent a week treating me like a con artist. He said, "I knew it," as if that cleared anything. Then he started talking about throwing a party. Said we should celebrate. Said he wanted to show the baby off. He went on about onesies and matching shirts and nicknames. Meanwhile, I was still holding the paper, staring at the line that confirmed what I already knew. I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel like I won anything. I felt like I was watching a building collapse that everyone else thought had just been repainted. That night, he poured a drink and toasted nothing. I sat on the couch with our son, listening to him ramble about being a proud dad, while I tried to keep it together. He clinked his glass into the air like he'd done something worth celebrating. I said nothing. I just looked at the baby, who still had his face, still furrowed his little brows in that exact same way, and I felt nothing but silence. I didn't cry because of the test. I cried because I didn't feel anything when he smiled at me. Not trust. Not warmth. Just the memory of someone I used to believe in, and the fact that it only took one sentence to lose all of that. He invited his family over a week later. His mom brought balloons that said, "It's a boy," like we hadn't been home for 2 weeks already. His brother handed me a gift bag with baby socks and a bottle of wine, like that canceled out the look they all gave me when they walked in. You know the look. Polite. A little stiff. Like someone had told them not to ask questions. His mom barely looked at me when she hugged me, but she couldn't stop squeezing the baby's cheeks. Called him a miracle. Said things like, "So glad everything worked out." I just nodded and smiled like someone watching strangers pose for a photo on my front porch. I didn't say anything when his cousin made a joke about how strong the genes were. I didn't speak up when his mom leaned into him and whispered something, then looked at me and smiled like we were old friends who hadn't seen each other in years. He was glowing through all of it. Like the test reset his brain. Like the last 2 weeks hadn't happened. Like the silent treatment, the clinic, the accusation, all of that was just some passing weather. I kept waiting for someone to say something real, to acknowledge how insane it all was, but nobody did. They passed the baby around like a trophy, and told me I was lucky he looked just like his father. That night, after everyone left, he started talking about future plans. Schools, sports, maybe moving somewhere quieter. He said we should baptize the baby in his family's church. The same one I'd never been invited to once. He said his mom already asked the pastor. I told him I wasn't sure. He paused, asked why I was always pushing back when he was just trying to build a life. Like the last 2 weeks had been some test for me to pass, and now that I did, I should be grateful he was. All in. I didn't answer. I got up, took a long shower, and sat on the bed scrolling my phone while the baby slept on my chest. I started pulling photos from the last 3 months, bump shots, ultrasounds, baby shower, hospital wristband, and I realized something. He wasn't in most of them. Not because I cropped him out, because he hadn't been there. He missed the second ultrasound. He forgot the gestational diabetes screening appointment and never asked how it went. He was late to the hospital and blamed traffic. I sat in triage alone for hours. I didn't even think to be mad at the time. I was used to filling in the gaps, covering for him before anyone noticed. But now, holding the baby and flipping through those photos, it clicked. This man had been halfway out for months, and I'd been the only one pretending it was normal. So I tested something. I left the baby with him for a full Saturday. I said I needed a break. He said, of course, take your time, I got this. I didn't go anywhere fancy. I just drove to the library, parked, and sat in the lot watching videos on my phone. I ate a sandwich alone in the car and answered texts I'd been ignoring. When I came home, the house was a mess. Baby in a bouncer, still wearing the same diaper from 6 hours ago. Bottles in the sink. His PlayStation was on, paused. He said the baby had been mostly chill. I asked if he gave him the reflux meds. He blinked like I'd asked him to recite a phone number from memory. I didn't say anything else. I changed my son, wiped his neck where the formula had crusted, and rocked him until he stopped fussing. Later that night, while he was watching highlights and shouting about a trade, my phone lit up. His ex. We were never close. I barely knew her. But the message was clear. You're not crazy. He made me do the same thing. She sent a screenshot. A DNA test form. Her name on it. Different clinic, different year. I just stared at it for a long time. She messaged again. Said he told her it was just protocol. That he needed to rule things out before he got too attached. That once the results came back, he acted like everything was fine. But it wasn't. They broke up 3 months later. He told people she had trust issues. I didn't reply. I didn't confront him. I didn't bring it up. I just watched him the next morning as he held our son, bouncing him with one hand while texting with the other. I saw him the way I should have seen him months ago. Someone who wants control, not connection. Someone who doesn't trust anyone because he knows deep down he's not worth trusting. Someone who needs proof of loyalty before he can offer crumbs of warmth. I started to detach. Quietly. I stopped sharing every photo. I didn't loop him in on doctor updates. I made appointments and didn't mention them. I went to a lawyer just to ask questions, just to understand things. He didn't notice. He thought we were fine. Every time he kissed me on the forehead, it felt like someone walking past a grave they didn't know they'd dug. 2 weeks later, he brought up the idea of trying for a second kid in a year or two. Said now that we got past all the drama, he was ready to settle down for real. I didn't respond. I just folded a towel and stared at the wall. I wasn't scared anymore. I was just waiting. I didn't leave right away. I stayed longer than I should have. Not because I believed anything would change, but because I didn't want to uproot everything in one move. I just had a baby. I wasn't interested in chaos for the sake of a clean break. I just wanted to be prepared when the time came, and I knew it would come. The test broke something. Not just between us. And me. The kind of damage you can't work around because the foundation isn't cracked, it's fake. I stopped waiting for apologies. I stopped expecting anything. He didn't notice the shift. That's what got me. He didn't see the way I moved through the house with less conversation. How I stopped asking him to hold the baby. How I started saying, my son, instead of, our son. He thought the tension had passed. He thought he'd won something. The truth is, I stopped being part of the relationship the second he handed me that clinic address like it was a grocery receipt. It came to a head the day he scheduled a photo shoot without telling me. He booked a photographer, picked outfits for him and the baby, and texted me the time like I was the assistant. I replied, "You do it." He laughed at first, then asked again. I said, "I'm not going." He didn't respond after that. He went through with it. Posted a full album on Facebook. Father and son. In the caption. Dozens of likes. His friends hyping him up like he was dad of the year. People I barely knew tagging me under the photos saying things like, "Beautiful family," and "You guys look so happy." I didn't reply to any of them. I didn't like the post. I didn't comment. I sat in the bedroom, feeding my son, knowing I was slowly disappearing from a version of his life that only included me when it was convenient. A few days later, his mom called me. I didn't answer, but the voicemail came through. She said I should stop withholding the baby, just because I was still upset about the test. Said I needed to let it go and move forward as a family. That it was time to forgive and be grateful for what we have. That was the final straw. I called her back. Not to argue, just to be clear. I told her I wasn't withholding anything. I wasn't playing games. I just wasn't pretending anymore. I said if they wanted to see the baby, they could schedule it through me. No surprises. No unannounced visits. No last-minute plans. She didn't like that. She started talking about her rights as a grandmother. I ended the call mid-sentence. No fight. Just done. That night, I told him I was taking the baby to visit my sister for a few days. He said okay, asked if I'd be back before the weekend. I said I wasn't sure. He didn't press. He never did. He thought distance was always temporary. I never went back. I stayed with my sister, hired a lawyer, filed for full custody. I didn't block him. I didn't ghost him. I just gave him the paperwork and let him deal with it like an adult. He was shocked, confused, said he thought we were doing better, said he thought things were getting back to normal. I said nothing was normal, and if he didn't see that, then he hadn't been paying attention at all. He tried. For about 2 weeks. The texts came in waves. I want to fix this. Let's talk. I didn't mean to hurt you. And then the shift. You're overreacting. You're breaking up our family for no reason. You're punishing me. He flipped the script like he always does. Made himself the victim in a story he started. I didn't reply. He showed up once, uninvited, said he wanted to talk in person. My sister told him to leave, or she was calling the cops. He left. I've kept the communication short ever since. All about the baby. Drop-offs, pickups, doctor updates. Nothing personal. He doesn't get my time anymore. He gets logistics. He gets what he earned, distance. People still ask me why I left if he didn't cheat, if he didn't hit me, if he didn't abandon us. And I always say the same thing. He didn't believe me. And he needed proof. That's all it took. Not because of pride. Not because I'm dramatic. But because when someone makes you prove the most obvious truth, and then celebrates like they always knew it, that's not a mistake. That's who they are.